Crystal Moon Creations, and today I want to share with you how I made this Day of the Dead inspired necklace. I made this in two color variations, blue and red, and today I'll show you how I made the red one. This necklace started off with inspiration from the colored skulls I had got in my dollar bead box Halloween haul, and I'll link it down below if you want to see what else I got from there. To match the necklace, I did make earrings and a bracelet for both sets, and I'll show them to you later in the week when I share with you my finished jewelry I was able to make from my dollar bead box haul. And with that being said, let's get into the video. The materials we will need for this project are a magnesite skull, and mine is 18 millimeters. And then I have a few smaller 9mm skulls in red and white, and also a magnesite leaf bead. Then I have this decorative circle, mine's about 25 millimeters, an acrylic flower with a hole through the back. I have two fancy spacers, a bail, some eye pins and head pins, some chain, and for my beads, we'll start off with the large ones. I have 8mm in two colors because I'm not sure how I'm going to lay this out. I have 6mm, 4mm, and then 3mm fire polish. And I just pulled out all the beads in the same color theme that I had going on with the skulls. And we'll see what I actually used from that as I put it together. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is lay out this necklace and just try to envision what I want for it. So I'm liking the feel of this layout, and now we're going to start constructing it. Alright, let's start with these at the bottom. So all these, I put the dangles underneath, so all these skulls are going to have to go on eye pins. Oh wait. This one on the bottom, I think I just want him on a head pin. Now the rest of these beads are going to go on head pins. Once everything's on your pins, I am pulling out my handy dandy looper. It just makes it so much easier to close all these loops. I know some of these loops have not closed completely, but I will go in with my round nose pliers and tighten all those up. Now that I have all of my beads I'm working with the loops through the looper, I will go through each one, snug them all up. There you go. And make sure all of them have proper closed loops. So now, before we go any further and actually put this together, I realized we should have wire wrapped the flower onto this ring first. So I cut myself a 15-inch piece of wire. I put the flower on the wire, somewhat in the middle of the strand, and I'm just going to place this decorative ring over it. We kind of want the flower to sit off center to the side of this. So I'm going to put it on the side and loop it back through the flower. There we are. Okay, so I got that loop on there. And now with the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. Make sure I got both sides tight. So now this is off center. You'll see if we looked at the front, this is hanging off to the right side. I suppose it's any side you turn it as, but basically you just want it hanging off to one side. Okay, so now I'm going to take this and I'm going to wrap this a few more times around here, make this more secure. So I'm not going to go through the flower this time. I'm just going to give it a few loops over here. There we are. And then this time, I'm going to go through the flower. Okay, now I'm going to put that one to the side and I'm going to do the same thing over here. So I'm going to give it a few loops around here. Okay, another one on the other side of that. There we are. And then I'm going to go through the flower again. So this flower has a little give. So I'm going to try to anchor this in a little more. I'm going to loop around to where I'm on the back. Okay. And I'm also going to just grab these threads instead of going around the metal and just make a loop around those. So this is all snug. So from here I'm going to take this thread and I'm going to go straight across. And this is going to anchor that flower in place. So see? And that flower doesn't want to wiggle around as much anymore. So I'm going to just loop this around here a few times. Okay. So from the front I'm going to go back. So as I go back on that flower, I'm going to twist around this strand a few times. I'm going to do it one more time. Okay, and now that I'm here, I'm actually going to go up and anchor it one more time to this side. Okay, so you will see this is how the flower is. It is very securely anchored to this side. Okay, it does not have any give now. I'm just going to tuck these wires in one more time, giving them a nice pull. Same with this one. So using my flush cutters, I'm just going to go in close, snip off these edges, and then with the pliers go in and make sure those edges are all nice and flat down on the project and then they won't catch on clothes or anything. There we are. Okay, now I know I am not very good at wire wrapping, but it'll serve its purpose as anchoring this flower on there, and it doesn't show too much. So now that we have our item wire wrapped, I am going to start hanging stuff from the bottom. Now the reason why I put these extra loops in here is because that's what I want to catch on the jump rings, and they're opposite. So that's the top and the bottom. Pulling out some jump rings. I'm going to go in here and catch in between those two loops. So you see and see exactly what I mean. There we are. Okay, so that's in there. And this is the top. Gonna slip the bail on. Okay, there we are. And that's not gonna go anywhere because it's stuck on those loops. So now for the bottom, I am doing the same thing. I'm going to pop open a jump ring, and I'm just gonna slip this in here and just fit it between some of those loops so it's opposite the top. So that is what we're starting with. Now I will see this skull is a little bit fatter than that, and it kind of makes it sit funny. I'm going to take this off and add an extra jump ring in between, maybe to give it a little bit more room so it doesn't have that clunky kind of feeling. So here's my jump ring. There we go. Now when I lay it down, yes, it doesn't like cause this whole thing to sit up. Okay, it has room to move. So that looks wonderful. Okay, now you could see when I laid this out, I want this skull to sit a little higher than the leaf. And to achieve that, I'm going to add an extra jump ring to the leaf so that it hangs just a bit lower than the other one. So here we are. Okay, so that's there. And now to connect the main skull to this white one, I'm going to loop it through there, loop it through the skull, and the jump ring on the leaf. So that should give it a nice stacked, but spread out where they both have their own room to hang kind of look. There you go, see? Exactly what I was looking for. Okay, so now we're gonna add the dangles onto the bottoms of these, and they can just go directly on these loops. And now with the red skulls, we're adding the other dangle color. So there are all my dangles on. And now we've got to be aware of our spacing. So these are how these are gonna lay in the necklace when they're hanging. So I think I like these skulls just being about where the chin is on that skull. Okay, so above that, I'm gonna wanna put a piece of chain to make up that difference for those loops. So 5 loops seems to fill that gap. Adding the chain on here. This may be 1 loop too many, but we'll have to see once we hang it what it actually looks like. And then we'll work on it from there. Okay, so taking another jump ring, I'm gonna grab the top of that chain and loop it on one of the sides where there are no wire wrappings there. So I've got this whole empty area on this side. Okay, so let's see where that hangs. That's pretty good, but I do think it could be 1 link shorter. So I'm just going to go down to this bottom, and I'm going to snip the last loop. There we are. And I'm going to go back to this skull, open it up, and loop it on that last loop of chain again. So now we have the 4 links on this chain, and let's see where that hangs. Is that nicer? Yes, I like that better. Okay, so same thing on the other side. Now we know we are using 4 links of chain. this one, we're gonna go on the other side where there's no wire wrapping and slip this on. Okay, so let's see what we got going on now. That is adorable. So now we are going to these last two skulls, and I want them to hang like right there. So I think one link of chain on each on the top with the jump ring should bring it to about the height I want. Okay, so I'm pulling out my links of chain again, and I'm gonna cut myself off just one link for each side. Also, you could use jump rings if you didn't have little bits of chain like this with a larger loop. All right, so I'm taking the red skulls, opening them, placing the one link of chain on there. And then I'm going back with the jump rings and grabbing that link of chain. And these are going to go on above where you place the chain for the white skull on either side. Same with the other side. So let's see what we got hanging here. Oh, that is adorable. Okay, so now I only have left are these two tiny little 3mm that I'm just gonna pop on each side on the top. So again, we'll need two more jump rings. So I'm going to open up each jump ring, slip these on, and right next to where we place those other loops, we are just gonna continue going up the sides with these. And that is our finished pendant. That to me is beautiful. I love this. So now that our pendant is done, we're going to string this all back, and mine looks like chaos. Let me just clean this up. I think that's what I had before. So now we are going to string this. We will also be needing some stringing wire. So I have this. You want to make sure the piece you're using doesn't have any kinks. Here, this one has a kink like this, because that will reflect in your project the way the necklace will hang. I'm just going to snip off this side with the kink a little bit, and make sure I don't have that in my project. Okay. So now for this, you'll need about the length of your beads with a little bit extra to add to the closure. So for the beads I'm using, the piece I have is about 15 inches. And I'll probably be snipping off a bit at the end. Okay, I am going to be closing this wire with wire guards. All right, so I have the 2 wire guards, 2 crimp beads, and 2 crimp covers. So now one end of this thread, I am going to be slipping on a crimp bead and then go through the wire guard both sides. Up one, down the other. And then once I'm through that one, I'm going to slip in the crimp bead. There we go, so both loops are through there. Okay. So now coming up to the top of this, I want to close this wire guard a little bit so it sits a nicer closed kind of loop. So here we are, I'm just pinching it so those legs touch. And then I am going to close this crimp bead. I'm going to catch it first in the V of these pliers, making sure I'm snug by that top still. I could leave a little space, but I don't want much. Okay, so pinching that. I have this V shape, and then I'm going to go into the holes of my pliers and pinch it again so it folds in half. So that closes that crimp bead, and this is secured. I'm then going to take my crimp covers, slip that over this bead, and close it. I am still new to crimp bead covers, so I have a very hard time closing them. trying to get them around as I can. That looks okay. A little bit more right there. So I just gently apply pressure from all sides till I get those ends to meet up as flush as I can. So now that you have your one end done, we're going to string on this whole thing from end to end. Okay, so I have 3 of the fire polish. Slide that down. I have 4 of the 4mm. Okay, finish up this end. I'm gonna pull these down and slip this wire through these fire polish and the 4mm. And then I'm just gonna come in here really nice and close and trim that off. So trimming that and giving it a close snip. There we are. So that's how your end should look. Okay, continuing on threading. Now, once I get to the bail, I want to stop because if I put this bail on as is, you will see it'll hang low on the wire. So see how it hangs like way down there off center? So for me, I like slipping on a few of the 3mm fire polish under it. So let's see if 3 fits well. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm taking 3mm fire polish, and I'm going to put that down and slip that inside that bail. Okay, and now you'll see it sits up higher on the bead because it's resting on those other ones inside. So just a little trick I like to make that bail sit a little nicer. Okay, and now continuing the other side. So there we have it all strung on. To finish this, we're going to go through another crimp bead. Go through the wire guard, up and back down. Then when we come out the other end, we want to make sure we slip in that crimp bead again. And we can go through a few beads as well on this side. So now from here, I'm going to hold the wire guard and pull this end. And that should just snug this right up against the back. I have to bend this end in together again, have those ends touch, give it a snug tug again. So now we are going to crimp that bead, going in, grabbing that crimp bead, make sure you have a little bit of slack there at the top so you're not crimping the wire guard. Bend that in and then go in and bend it again to pinch it flat. So there we are. I'm going to snip off the end of this wire as close as I can and see if I could slip that end right into the next bead. There we are. So there's nothing there. And now for this side we need the crimp cover. So I'm going to put that on there, put my pliers around, lightly apply some pressure, and then go around trying to even it out so I get a round bead. So that side is done pretty well. So this is the necklace completed, and we just now have to go through and add some chain around the back. So with my first one as reference, I cut the chain here to about 5 inches on each side. And to get to that length, I actually kept changing it and going up to the mirror and seeing where it hung best on my chest. And I suppose there's actual sizes that people can use, but to me, just going and actually seeing where it hangs works the best. So we have some chain here. I'm going to cut 5 inches twice. Whenever I'm cutting this second length, I always like to just grab the ends with a pin to make sure they're both the same. Okay, once you have those ends, you can just run your fingers down the chain. And since they're hanging at the same height, so you could just see at the end exactly which link needs to be cut. There we are. So you should have two identical pieces of chain. Now one side is going to get a jump ring, the other is going to get the lobster claw. Alright, so we're going to take a lobster claw. I have a few smaller jump rings to connect the ends. And then I'm going to take a larger jump ring to be the closure with the lobster claw. Then also for that jump ring, I'm going to take a small piece of chain as an extender in the back. So if someone else wants to wear it at a different length, they can. And this chain has the large enough loops so you could just clasp the lobster claw right into them. And also at the end, I think I want a dangle. So I'm going to get some beads and put these on a head pin as well and close them. Okay, once I have my two dangles from the looper, I again have to just go and make sure all those loops are nice and snug. I think just both of those on there would be okay. For the final construction, I'm going to start at the end. Opening this one, this is going to connect this is the larger jump ring to connect our extender chain to the regular chain. I suppose you could just have one long piece, but I like this. It gives some suggestion on where the necklace should lay. And now at the end of this, on the last loop of the extender, I'm going to put the larger bead, close that, and then on the link above it, I'm going to put the smaller fire polish bead. Okay. There we are. Okay, let's just see how that dangles. Very cute. Now on this other chain, we are going to attach the lobster claw. So going in with a tiny jump ring, grabbing that lobster claw, attaching it to one of the ends of chain. Okay, there we are. And the last two jump rings I have here are to attach it to the actual project. Now I always make sure I put my lobster claw on the right side, so when it's worn, I have an easier time opening it. I'm sorry to the lefties out there. Putting it the other way just feels wrong when I'm trying to actually put it on. Okay, with the other jump ring, I'm grabbing the chain, putting it on the other side, and closing it. Okay, and that is the completed project. Sorry, my voice has been going hoarse in and out all morning. And that's what we got. Straighten this a little bit. I think this is adorable. It's a very cute necklace. And you got that little dangle at the back of the extension. And of course, you could do this with any kinds of beads you have. It doesn't have to be this skull theme. That's just what I had going on because it's Halloween time. Thank you so much for watching the video. And I need to take a minute and thank everybody who's subscribed and commented and liked these videos. I have gotten so much more support than I thought possible in just, what's it been, like 3 weeks? So amazing, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. I have many more things planned. I'm going to be doing a finished jewelry update this week. And hopefully next week I can get up my bargain bead box finished jewelry. I would like to be able to share them with you, by the end of the month that I got the box. So hopefully I'll be able to get that up next week too. And I'm just gonna say thank you one more time. You guys are amazing, and I will see you in the next one.